Hello everyone and welcome to the channel for this game recap and review. If this is your first time visiting the channel and you want to hear about a different take of college football from an analytical perspective, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you will stay updated on another video. Also hit the like button, it does help the channel grow, and let me know what your biggest takeaway is from the national championship. First off, a tip of the hat to Alabama for an undefeated season and a convincing win over Ohio State in the national championship game, winning by the score of 52-24. I figured this game would end up being a classic shootout, and for about a quarter and a half, it looked like we were going to get it. But that second quarter, it was a masterclass piece of finishing for Alabama. And like they have done all season long, they find another gear that the other teams simply can't match. Without further ado, let's take a look at the box score. I thought when Alabama won the toss and deferred to the second half was pretty telling. I figured they would want to get the ball first, establish the line of scrimmage, and set the tone for the game, especially with the way Ohio State started against Clemson, and you would think there would be some type of carryover from 11 days ago. When Alabama popped Trey Sermon on that first play of the game and the defense forced a 3-and-out, I was surprised to say the least. I thought Ohio State would possess the ball, go down the field, and get off to a good start. When you play a team like Alabama with an ungodly offense, you can't give them possessions. And they marched down the field on a time-consuming drive, and that became a reoccurring theme. Alabama ran 83 plays for the entire game and dominated the time of possession by over 14 minutes. Ohio State's defensive game plan all season long never seemed to change. And when you play an offense as explosive as Alabama, you have to make adjustments. Their corners would bail on every snap. Their linebackers would stay on the field regardless of the personnel, and it was going to be a cover 3 look. And when you're in cover 3, you are going to get spanked like a 4-year-old at Kmart if the offense is running a RPO. And Steve Sarkisian said it in his coaching clinic. It's too easy. Your defender has to react, and I'm playing catch every time. When you watch the game on Monday night, ask yourself, where was Sark lying? Because it was pitch and catch all night. And in the second quarter, that is where the games went off the rails for Ohio State. Cornerbacks gave cushions because they didn't want to get beat deep. Alabama would either take the easy check down or would have the wide receiver sitting in the zone. But it wasn't like Ohio State didn't have a chance when they were down 21-14. They drove down the field, they chewed up clock, they had a nice rhythm going. Alabama was on their heels. Alabama ended up getting a targeting penalty. Jordan Battle, free safety Jordan Battle, out for the game. And now you're inside the 10-yard line. Ryan Day, for all of his offensive wizardry and his elite offense, with Justin Fields in a rhythm, playing really good ball right now, opts for a 23-yard field goal. In college football, field goals, when you get inside the 10-yard line, it is considered a failure to get 3 if you're that close and you don't punch it in. And listening to Hugh Freeze on the college coach's film room, he said, hey, look, I'm telling my guys, hey, we're fine. It's 21-17 right now. And before we realized what happened, it took Alabama 8 plays to score 14 points in less than 3 minutes, culminating in a 42-yard pass from Mac Jones to DeVonta Smith, where inexplicably an Ohio State linebacker ended up with him, and it was pitch and catch. I'm sure in that moment, Ohio State fans turned and asked the Cleveland Brown fans, okay, who accidentally stole Joe Boo's rum during the celebration of beating Pittsburgh last night? Because this is ridiculous. And as you can see from the box score, Alabama's success rate ended up at 76% in the second quarter. Ohio State was at 22%, and that gave Alabama a 54% success rate delta. It was exactly the same as Ohio State giving it to Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, where they had a 45% success rate delta, putting the game out of reach. Now, I talked about the key matchups in the preview. I mentioned Ohio State secondary versus the Alabama wide receivers. Alabama's defensive line versus Ohio State's offensive line. Coming into the game, Alabama's defense, they allowed 76% of their opponent's rush averages. The scoring model had Ohio State gaining 4.6 yards per carry. Ohio State ended up with 5.1, which was 84% of their yard per carry average due to Ohio State averaging 6 yards per carry for the season. Ohio State secondary came into the game allowing 106% of their opponent's opponent's pass averages. They allowed 10.3 to Alabama, which was 93% of Alabama's passing average. At halftime, Alabama was at 11.4 yards per attempt. Something happened between halftime and at the end of the game that caused Alabama's passing game to go from 11.4 to 10.3. They lost DeVonta Smith for the rest of the game. Jalen Waddle, that kid displayed some true courage on Monday night. He was hobbling. My guess was he was at 65%. Ohio State cut the lead to 14 in the third quarter, and they actually outplayed Alabama from a success rate standpoint. They had a 50% success rate on offense. They're humming a little bit, getting some mojo going. And now everybody's looking at Mac Jones like, well, you don't have the Heisman Trophy winner. Your running back is on the bench, and your speed receiver can barely run. So let's see what you can do without all that talent around you. And what did Mac Jones do? He just marched that offense right down the field with an 8-play, 75-yard drive to score a touchdown to go up 45-24. And it was as if he shrugged his shoulders and told everybody, in case you forgot, I finished third in the Heisman. And for everyone who likes to say it's quote-unquote easy to throw to guys like DeVonta Smith and all those weapons, if you watch the second half, he didn't have those guys around him for the majority of the half. And Sark called an A-plus game. It was perfect. Hats off to him. I can't wait to see what he does at Texas. But my biggest takeaway from this game was I was surprised Ohio State did not take advantage of Alabama having to go deep in the depth chart with the loss of freshman stud Malachi Moore at slot corner and Jordan Battle at safety. Alabama's secondary shut down Justin Fields in that Ohio State passing attack. Ohio State came into the game averaging 10 yards per pass attempt, and Alabama held them to 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Doing the math, that is 59% of Ohio State's yards per pass attempt, their standard average. Putting this into context, Rutgers averages 5.6 yards per pass attempt, Mississippi State averages 5.9, and Kentucky averages 5.5. For all the talk about the Clemson game, I think Justin Fields was in serious pain, man, on Monday night. I'm not buying the hip pointer injury because I believe it was worse. But that kid has my respect. He gutted it out. There was no way he was going to miss that game. He got hit a bunch by a few 300-pound defensive linemen, but he kept coming and he kept playing. He was I don't think he was anywhere close to 70% in my opinion. He had a passing success rate of 39%, which was his lowest since the Big Ten championship when Northwestern held him at 33%. Ohio State needed him to be at or around 9 yards per pass attempt, in my opinion. But got to give Alabama credit. Pete Golding, he called a hell of a game. He was dialed in. And even with the loss of Jordan Battle, it did not seem to faze Alabama, but really surprised Ohio State didn't take advantage of that. Wow. So to finish the season for Ohio State, I firmly believe their goal this year, it was to beat Clemson. And it was by fate they saw them in the Sugar Bowl and they emptied the tank against them. The way they celebrated at the end of that game, it felt as if it was their championship. Now, I know the coaching staff and the players, I don't think they're going to admit it publicly, but I'm sure the Ohio State fans are thinking about it to some degree. But at the end of the day, they're going to be back. I'm not worried about Ohio State at all. With the way they recruit, with the way they develop, Ryan Day's fantastic coach. This is his second straight year in the college football playoff. Ohio State is going to be fixtures in the postseason. I'm not worried about that. At the end of the day, they just ran into a buzzsaw that was Alabama, full of senior leadership They had a bad taste of how they finished 2019. And they just wasn't going to be denied. They wasn't going to be denied of anybody that was on their schedule. They came back for one purpose, and that was to finish the job. And it was going to be a tall task for anyone to beat that 2020 team. And that's all I got. That's all for you. So that's the recap for that national championship game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the comment section below. Thank y'all for listening.